return, I think the level is $11,072, I think, per pupil payment for this coming year. I think $11,700 for the following year. I'm not sure just where this is all going to shake out. You know, there's some pretty strong sentiment among a lot of legislators that we do something along that line, and I guess I'm struggling with that part.
I would add that in the House this past year, we built a charter school, failed by a small margin. So that was not, on that front. I have a question. PSA, to me, it's pretty broad. It's pretty broad on what they're going to use for. I'd like to see that narrowed down a little bit to a pretty good range. Some of the things that could be allowed for. It's not that exciting. See where that all shakes out. A long time ago, nothing was settled yet. But he's getting where some things are starting to narrow up a little bit.
Whatever we do with vice versa, whatever they do, it crosses over and they get more changes made. So last couple of weeks, get into the conference committee, and that's when things final decisions are made. So.
The trail county commission, I don't know about the one versus my county or just, one more funding project. You want to go over, they don't want to pay it.
Well, we're here. We're here in that one there too. Emails every day concerning that.
I'd like to address Mr. Haggard for a second.
Can I interrupt, Tom?
Pardon me?
We're having a hard time hearing because we don't have the mic. So if you have a question, please either stand up or really speak loud if you could, because people are having a hard time hearing the question.
Sure.
Sorry about that.
That's fine. You provided some information today that I previously didn't know. We talked about some votes on all of this.
And I want to give you this.
And I want to give you this county standpoint on one point here. And before I do that,
I just want to
point out, I've watched the governor's speech. I read his speech on all of this.
And in one of those,
he's talking about his plan and the reasons for doing it.
My
personal take on it is
the
the legislature set aside all this money in the legacy fund. It's the tax dollars' money in the first place.
and now they're saying we're
going to take money out of the legacy fund and give you tax.
So they're taking
They're taking the taxpayers' dollars and giving it back to them.
They're not really doing anything.
They're not really doing anything but just giving us their own money back.
So to me that doesn't.
sit too well, but that's how you're trying to finance it.
The point I want to make.
The point I want to make about this 3% cap that he's talking about.
In one of his speeches.
That I see online, he basically addressed the fact that why does the state have a say in this? Control over how counties do it and cities and such.
And his point was
because they're doling out the money that they have some say in. First of all, just giving us our own money back.
But
second of all,
we deal with stuff that
we can't put a cap on it because of the environment that we work in.
For the
current tax year that we just got done with our budget for,
land, as
you addressed, Randy,
is a big part of
is a big part of where the dollars come from. The county government.
The prior year,
Our land valuations went down by $22 million.
Okay, so that
left us trying to figure out how we're going to
do a budget
with valuations that drop that much. Okay?
That formula
doesn't come from the county.
It comes
from,
I don't know what the official
name is, but
it's an NDSU.
it's an NDSU thing. It's been there forever, and they do the calculation. So we have no sales.
So you take that kind
of a drop in income,
and you're
telling us, okay, you get capped at a 3% something. How do you adjust to that?
Those are things you can't.
This year it went up. The coming year, the number's going to be very possibly a slight increase.
But
to me,
they don't have the right.
They don't have the right to put a cap on the counties and cities and say this is a set number and you have to live with that.
That's the point I want to make.
That's the point I want to make.
And, since you brought up the legacy fund, and it was set up to benefit all of Dakota, and that is solely derived from oil tax extraction revenues. You know, 30% of that is set aside, and the money that comes out of that, I would say we have done tax relief in the past, but it's indirect tax relief, not direct. Things like paying off bond obligations, projects out in Western along with the flood inversion in Fargo. Those are things that do provide tax relief in that area. We also set aside $100 million for road and bridges, and being able to take and address that as a direct impact to North Dakota that already in those taxing districts. So it was set up to be a benefit. There needs to be a discussion around the use of that benefit, and one of the proposals is to use it for property taxes. So as far as taking it and giving it back, we're basically taking it from four counties of Western North Dakota and dispersing it throughout the state. So it's something that doesn't come out of our pockets, but it's something that we have to, as a legislature, we have to decide where the best allocation of those dollars are. And there needs to be a pretty robust debate about it, and there is public, and privately among the legislators.
Just interject.
Sorry to interrupt.
We're
talking about his
earnings off the legacy fund. We're not talking about
using the principal
legacy fund.
property tax relief.
Property tax
Fund
relief.
grows,
As the fund grows, that's
eventually
right.
over time,
You get down
property
to
tax.
property tax.
In the governor's plan
Was to zero.
I can't speak for everybody.
There's pretty
Doing
common
legislature.
doing legislature that we have no interest going to
At
zero.
what level do we stop?
At what level do we stop? That's still up for debate.
Zero.
Getting to zero,
You should still have skin in
you
the
should
game.
still have skin in the game,
Right?
I mean,
Otherwise, here again,
you're gonna give your local
somebody else paying the bill.
somebody else pay the bill, write the rules on
Lay the land.
lay the land. So
It goes to zero.
it goes to zero,
Really good chance.
there's a really good chance we'll lose that control if that happens.
That is
Some of the justification for the give and take.
It's not determined
It's not determined what level that is, but
Pretty common knowledge.
pretty common knowledge of that
So when
legislature.
you talk local,
When you talk local control,
we have the townships that
are meeting
on
on Tuesday.
And one of the things we're trying to assist them with is putting in a comprehensive plan and working if there's zoning ordinances and this kind of stuff. And Larry was there, he spoke, and he said they want to control the things that the township, that's why they want to have their stuff. He referenced where Congress has zoning for townships, and then things happen where townships don't want. The locals do want their control.
And in those cases,
The township is giving the authority to the county.
Case or two where
They've tried to get it back and it's
The
not,
county hasn't been
the county hasn't been willing to relinquish that authority,
So,
so.
And one more thing, I'd like to know, I've heard there was a bill that was talking about taking the funding for townships based on, or counties based on miles of road. Was there ever any talk about putting bridges into that same thing? The amount of bridges in the county, because we have like pushing 400 and others have very few. I mean, the same thing, we have an intense need and others don't have it, and yet the funding probably isn't distributed on that basis. Has that ever been looked at?
yeah, there is talk of going to maintenance miles for townships, on what's actually being maintained. If minimum maintenance wouldn't count into that calculation. Senator Thomas now on the Senate side is working on a bridge package for the state. I think he's talking $80 million, and there again, it would be based on that Great Plains Transportation Institute evaluation of the condition. So you'll do the highest needs ones first and work down the list, which just makes sense. So the way the food fight, this county got this county got that, somebody else got this. You're doing it based on actual need rather than a food fight at that point, so. You bet.
And I'll add one more thing. Senator Wanzik from Jamestown, he's got a bill that would take the rest of the motor vehicle excise tax and get that into the highway department to be, and at least a portion of that would be distributed to counties and townships. Several years ago when the state was looking for money wherever they could get it, they ended up taking all of the motor vehicle excise tax and putting it into the general fund. And I think currently, what is it, about half?
50%.
Half of that motor vehicle excise tax is still in the general fund, and our goal is to get all of that back into the road fund in one form or another.
Right, whether it's county, township, or flex fund, which can be used from the state, actually could take over some of the county roads as well. They're again determined by necessity or need, not a food fight in essence. So there are things being worked on. There has been an emphasis this time to, of all the relief the state has done for the political subdivisions, townships have been, we've done things that have been helpful, but not really meaningful at that level. You know, you get 10 grand here or there, which helps for a year, but you can't do projects at that level of funding. So there is a concerted effort to try and get way down to the bottom. Stuff runs downhill and it always dries up before it gets to the bottom. We're trying to get finally to the bottom layer. It's always a food fight because it's a numbers game, right, as well. But we can also say that 40% of the population of North Dakota lives in what we determined, even by our standards, a rural area. And ag and energy still power this state, still use the same roads out in, they like to use greater Minnesota, we use greater North Dakota, right? So out in the country where that activity takes place, that's where we're trying to get resources back to that level as well. So.
Staying with the education theme for a moment here, I'd like to specifically address Senator Lem to talk about the parental rights bill that has been introduced. It's a rather wordy bill with a very lengthy explanation within it and everything. What precipitated it and what is the intention of that bill?
Well, I think I'm actually a co-sponsor on that bill, and I'm probably not as well versed on that as I should be at this point because we haven't had it in front of our committee yet. But a lot of it comes from the larger schools are kind of driving a lot of this stuff because a lot of the stuff that happens in the larger towns are what gets people upset, and having the parents actually involved. A lot of the schools try to take over. I think there's at least some of them have the idea that, well, we've got your kids, so they're our responsibility for this many hours of the day, which to some degree is maybe true, but making some decisions for these kids, I think, still rests with the parents. They're still the parents' kids, you know. And then the dilemma is that there's a lot of parents that are very involved in their kids, and then there's a group of parents that maybe aren't as involved with their kids. So it's a balancing act. We want to do what's the best for the kids, but I guess that's what kind of.
On
Yes.
that, have you talked to like Carroll County education administrators? You know, like have you got input from Mr. Bradner or the superintendent? I don't know who the new superintendent of healthcare is, sorry, but.
John Dryberg is over there.
You know, like on their input, cause I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like sometimes this stuff, like those issues, and I mean, like there was some rumor a couple years ago about litter boxes in the West Fargo schools or something weird like that, and you find out that's not true, but it's like going wild on social media, and so now, oh my gosh, parents need to get control of what's happening in schools, and it's not even true. And so when you talk to the administrators, like especially, and I obviously am focused on Carroll County, this is where I live, this is where my children go to school, but like they'll tell you that's not true. I mean, they're begging parents to
Yeah, I do, and I've talked with John fairly regularly, and I've talked to some of the other ones too, probably not as much, but in Trail County, District 20 as a whole, I think we're in pretty good shape that way. It's, it's difficult, I know.
I don't know anybody at any level that disputes the fact that parents are the ultimate arbiter of their children's well-being, so.
Can I pivot a minute onto zoning? House Bill 1258, and it kind of correlates with Senate Bill 2208, and basically local zoning ordinances may not apply when addressing projects that have been permitted by the state. So that's going to include things like wind farms, data centers, and the CO2 pipeline. In the Senate bill, they're looking almost like it's going to be blackmail, because it states that it adopts an ordinance or policy that interferes or conflicts with energy. If a city or township adopts an ordinance or policy that interferes or conflicts with an energy infrastructure project permitted or approved by a state agency, the city may not be eligible to receive any grants or funds beginning on the later of the date that the city approved the ordinance. So in other words, there's people right now that in western North Dakota that are battling the CO2 pipeline and some of the other things. And then there's also been this huge influx of data centers, which sound very good on the outside, but when people have them go up next to them, they're pulling in large amounts of water, large amounts of electricity, and the noise level that they agreed to is not being adhered to. And this is basically saying that the state's going to tell the townships, the cities, and everybody else to pound sand if you decide that you don't want one of these things in your township, city, whatever. And that disturbs me because, again, that's taking the local control for something that these people said they don't want in their backyard, and it is suddenly popping up, especially if you're a farmer or a rancher and don't want a CO2 pipeline going through.
This would be Senator Patton's bill.
Yeah, 2208.
And then the other one was House Bill 1258. So they're both kind of the same.
1258 is quite a bit different than 2208. 1258 deals with, heard that in Energy and Natural Resources, and we voted it out on the House floor. Energy and Natural Resources, which I serve on, gave that bill an 11-0 due pass. There's 13 members of the committee. 2 of them were absent. And it came out of the House with, I believe, an 86-7 due pass. So pretty strong support of it. And the main difference between the two is 1258 deals with strategic transmission corridors. So in mainly thinking about it from the electrical grid, and the transmission shortfalls and issues we have with that right now. So the state identifies these strategic corridors where the transmission is going to be needed or is needed or needs to go. I farm around about 6 miles of one of the large transmission lines. And what that bill says is within that strategic transmission corridor, you know, the state regulations do supersede county, city, township ordinances, just to give that stable regulatory climate to our power providers that are adding transmission lines. So we're not having to jockey around a bunch of ordinances along that designated line. You know, outside of that, it doesn't touch anything outside of that. But inside of that corridor, you know, you go to the Public Service Commission, which have all been elected statewide, and there's a process that is in place within that bill to take and address any of the concerns that the local political subdivisions do have with that. So there is a process to file complaints, to work through the process to continue that citing. I mean, it's not just a point blank, boom, here you go.
2208, we haven't had that one yet. Thank you for reminding me. I've heard about it, and I'm just looking it up here, and yeah, I don't like it.
Okay. It just sounded very strong arm to me, and especially when we're dealing with, things that I suspect, CO2 pipeline and other things that I question being under the domain of, able to be a public service. And then eminent domain and stuff rears its ugly head. That's why I think you had such pushback on the property taxes and stuff, because at what point do we really own our property and have control over it? If somebody can just say, and we're coming through. Screw you.
Within the eminent domain process, there is compensation for the property. Not that,
I don't wanna
and I'm
sell.
not, I'm not trying to argue with you on it, and I'm not trying to say it's just, but there is a process when that is in play.
And on the data centers, the old ones were air-to-air heat exchange. The newer ones they're running liquid, so they pump fluid. They are not as loud as the old ones are. There's a definite change in technology, and they have gotten better on that front. There is no denying that they are huge energy consumers, and that's why it makes sense to put them as close to the source of energy as possible. You don't need all the infrastructure and things like that, and that's also why nuclear has come back into the equation as part of a option in the future, where you produce the power right next to where you need the power, so everything is co-located together. So there are twists and turns and things that don't always isn't common knowledge to everybody. So.
And I think just to talk a little bit on 2208, I haven't landed where I am at it, but I think what the goal of the prime sponsor there was to really have that conversation around, all right, we've talked about the carbon pipeline here today, or it's been brought up. Carbon, granted, right now it's the credit that they're using is for storage, but we don't produce enough carbon in North Dakota for enhanced oil extraction if we get 10, 15, 20 years out to continue to remove the natural resource that we do have in western North Dakota, and especially in those 4 counties. So we've got to, it goes back to the regulatory environment and how we want to move forward with that. I think that's the impetus behind 2208. I think it would have a pretty hard time of getting out of the Senate, but I think it provides a good reason to have a discussion around the path that North Dakota moves forward.
I want to thank our delegation here from District 20 for having this public forum. I didn't always used to get them. Didn't want to be called on the carpet, so to speak, by some of the people on some of the stuff that goes on. And I'm glad to see that we have our representatives, family farmers. I'm a family farmer myself, and also on the board of the Grand Forks County Farmers Union, and a former president of Grand Forks County Farmers Union. Excuse me. And I'd like to talk today about Senate Bill 2150 by Senators Thomas and Luke and Representative Belt. So I'm sure you're familiar with it. What it does basically is change some words in the corporate farming law from individual to person in particular. There are other changes, but that's the one I'm here to address. And that may seem like it's not a very important change, but it is a pivotal change in corporate farming law. I don't want to go on too much, but according to Black's Law Dictionary, as it stands right now in the law, we talk about individuals and corporate farming. And according to Black's Law Library, an individual is a single person as opposed to a group or class. It also can refer to a natural person as opposed to a corporation, partnership, or association.
person is a being that the law considers to be capable of rights and duties. The definition can include human beings, corporation, and other legal entities. So what this one word change can do is to change family farming to corporate farming. And that's what the actual effect of this bill could be. I recall back in 2015, we had a referendum in North Dakota after some changes to the corporate farming law were made, and 76% of the electorate in this state rejected that change and put it back to the original language, which was, of course, changed last session with 1317, which is the current language. But the point with this one, 2150, is that we're changing one word and allowing corporate farming to enter the state. Now, Senator Mathern has put forth an amendment to 2115 to reverse that change back to individual from the proposed person in 2150. Representative Belt and the rest of it, would you support Senator Mathern's amendment to keep family farming in North Dakota and keep corporate farming from coming in and buying up land from underneath family farmers, doing things like property land exchanges on massive scales with money from out of state? Would you support Senator Mathern to return that back to individual and scratch person?
So as I understand it, 2150 was a cleanup bill for the actions it took last session. Nobody is intending this to go beyond the scope it currently is. There's been some exceptions for animal agriculture in the state of North Dakota, vetted through the Farmers Union, which fought that in the past. It passed last session with Farmers Union support. Nobody at this point in time, and we didn't even bring it up this session as far as doing anything more. This was intended to be a cleanup bill, not anything beyond that. Some people latched onto that word and took it and ran with it, assuming that we were trying to open the doors wide open. That was never the intent, nor the design, nor my wishes as a co-sponsor of that bill. So I'm not in favor at this point in time throwing the gates wide open. The little bit of room we gave for animal ag, I am in support of. And for people's knowledge, with Riverview moving into Trail County, they could have done that without the change in the corporate farming law because they're our LLP and our owner or employee owned. So they could have come even without the change from last session. So that's where I'm at on it. I'll let the other gentlemen speak for themselves.
And we acted on that bill in the Senate, and it passed as it was written. And we were advised that the language we were doing was cleaning up the language in the livestock bill to match up with the rest of language in the state. And in no way does this open the gates to allow corporate farms to come in. That's what we've been advised of from our legal people. And I know there was an individual that had a letter going out that was claiming that that's what was going to happen, but that was not true, by the advice that we have.
Well, apparently it's a mistake then to go with person because of the legal implications of putting person in that statute. So individual is actually an appropriate word that was originally in the bill that 1371 or 1317 that Representative Haggard sponsored last session. So when this gets over through crossover and into the House, perhaps an amendment could be put in, as Senator Mathern's amendment is, to change that back to individual because of the legal implications of using the word person. I think it's only reasonable if that's what you guys want. Someone may do like a property land exchange under the IRS rules, where people that sell land in, say, Florida or Arizona for hundreds of millions of dollars and want to avoid capital gains tax come up in the North Dakota and buy
us are trained lawyers. We rely on legislative counsel to guide us, and we have really great staff. It passed through Senate as is. We've been advised. If it comes to a lawsuit, it'll be settled in court. But nobody's intention up here at this point in time is to allow what you've stated to happen. So that's as plain as I can say it.
Well, I hope that's in the, if it does pass and signed by the governor, I hope it's in the legislative record that was not the intent of the use of the word person. But I would encourage, to avoid all that trouble, again, to amend it back to individual and person. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, gentlemen, for your service to the state of North Dakota. My question actually deals with the egg experiment station and extension. As all three of you are well aware, those entities are critical to our farmers and our local area here, especially for, well, all crops, but especially our specialty crops like dry beans and sugar beets. We rely on that information, and so I was just curious if you have any updates on how things were going with those entities and maybe their appropriation or what you've heard about them so far.
So it's on the Senate side.
Yeah, the appropriations guys, I'm not sure where they're at with that. I know they've been discussing it. Senator Wanzik has mentioned it a couple times. It's in his division of the appropriations, and obviously he's very much in support of it. So I'm thinking that it'll be okay, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, and the little rumblings I've heard is there may have been an effort by somebody to take some points from further down the list on a prioritized list. My understanding is the committee is looking at taking things that are higher prioritized by the SBAR, State Board of Ag Research and Education, to go back to the top of the list and honor the wishes of that rather than somebody else's opinion on what's more important for the state of North Dakota for ag research and extension. So that's the little bit I've heard. The pay package, as far as I know right now, is 3 and 3. 3% the first year, 3% the second year. So that's my understanding where that is. And with the insurance that goes along with that as well. The state's going to cover the increase in the cost on that as well. So I know.
Yeah, I haven't really heard anything other than these other two gentlemen. In finance and tax, we did have, again, House Bill 1572. There was a proposal in there to provide a little bit more relief, and the crux of it is looking at your property tax bill. Extension at the county level does have levying authority, along with garrison diversion and others. There was a proposal in there that I authored to remove that levying authority and provide an appropriation back to would have been back to the county, but it wasn't going to get massaged. But with everything else that was going on and during committee discussion, felt it was best to just remove that right now. So that'll all stay the way it is, which I guess you could argue we're talking about property tax relief a lot during the session, and this would have provided another $20 million in property tax relief while trying to get things funded and legislative oversight where it should be, in my opinion. But didn't win that battle, so I'm still full support of 1572 as it's currently amended. But that's what I know as far as extension.
I have a whole bunch of things that could go down, but I says, all right, we're not gonna go. I'm just gonna sit there and one thing that could be very contentious is the fact of taking away our abilities for bring up initiative measures. In other
have the right to alter or reform the same whenever the public good may require. It looks like you wanna change the threshold to 60%, for initiated measures. But it's kind of interesting, because if it comes to a vote, again, it's only, we're gonna require 50% plus one for that to go. So in other words, 10% of the people who maybe don't vote for that because of the change won't have a chance to have an initiated measure.
I think the intent there is, if I'm remembering the language correctly, is 60% for a constitutional initiated measure to change the Constitution. And then 50% plus one for a citizen initiated measure. So the thinking behind that and the discussion on the House floor was around, you know, and the thought of the majority was, it wasn't about taking away the rights for an initiated measure. It doesn't change any threshold of signatures or anything like that. It raises the bar to change the Constitution of the state of North Dakota from 50% plus one to that 60% threshold. The majority felt that that was a worthwhile change and deserved the consideration of the people of North Dakota, you know, and have that debate during the next election cycle.
So the comments I would make is, if you look at the requirements to change the U.S. Constitution, are far and above what it takes in North Dakota to do ours. By percentage of states and percentage of vote that has to pass, and the number of times that each one have been changed, the U.S. Constitution has been changed in relative terms very few times compared to what North Dakota has done with our Constitution. So does it make sense to put those on more equal footing to some degree? If you're talking about the Constitution, it's a document that endures and sets the tone for the rest of it. So it should take a higher bar, in our opinion, to make that happen. I shouldn't speak for everybody else, but my opinion, it should be a higher standard than the average run-of-the-mill issue. So that's where I'm at on it. I'm okay with 60%. Like I said, when you look in relative terms, compared to the U.S. Constitution, it's far less restrictive, and the number of times it's actually happened, we've done it way more times than the nation has. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
To give you the exact numbers, the U.S. Constitution's been changed 27 times. North Dakota's been 167.
Well, I'll finish up on that topic here. I guess I believe that our Constitution is our foundational document for our state, as well as a U.S. Constitution is a foundational document for our country. And I believe that the threshold should be higher to change the Constitution. You know, the normal initiated measure, I'm fine with that, and that's not what this resolution is trying to do. It's not the regular initiated measure, it's the initiated constitutional measures that it's trying to raise the threshold for. I heard somebody say, well, maybe that initiated, that measure that would change the threshold, maybe that should be at a 60% level to change that thing. You know, that's maybe got some merit. But bottom line, we're not trying to take away the rights of anybody. We just feel that the Constitution should be harder to change because that is the foundational document for our state.
I have a question on property taxes. This past year, all this property stuff, I believe, was reassessed. And I have land. I don't have the land, but it's rented. I've rented it for 35 years. I have land along the river, and the
understanding of the way it works in Trail County is I'm guessing your township has relinquished the assessing to the county, or the county director of tax equalization has taken that over. If they raise it more than a certain percentage, you have to be notified that it was, get a notice what the increase was, and then there's a process to get an explanation, go in and see why that was done, and go from there. The state really is out of it at that point. I will bring something up that was brought up earlier. The productivity index, we had a bill in a House Ag dealing with valuations of ag property, the order of modifiers, soil type, and use of the land.
Land use, yeah.
So the first part is based on a productivity index that NDSU does with the formula that's available to anybody to look up, and it's always been that way for as long as I can remember. I don't know when it was changed, but that's the basis where you start, and then the modifiers and the other pieces go on top of that. Here again, this is a local issue basically. There is a process you can appeal it at the township level, the county, and to the state if you're in disagreement, and you can go through due process at all those levels. So there has been a change on, I should let the commissioner.
Greg, talk to me after the meeting, I'll get your information, I'll get you an answer for why it was changed, what it's about.
Okay.
Okay?
I got a bill that's passed the House that you guys are split the time change. Daylight savings time, we don't have that anymore. And that's such and such for how you.
Well, I guess my thought is, if we have to stay one way or another, I just assume it would stay standard time. But as far as this bill goes, until the states around us change, it doesn't make sense for us to change.
With the House, it is good, right? We won't have daylight savings time anymore.
It passed on our side, it has to go to their side, see what they say, and then go from there. I think it's gonna be a discussion with border towns, Fargo, Moorhead, that's gonna be the issue. I think most people are just tired of changing their clocks twice a year. Stick with one, instead of going back and forth, and then you get into the debate on whether you want more light in the evening or less, or, so this is an old friend that's been discussed many times, and we'll see where it goes. We were split, and I'm glad to see Senator Lem is the reasonable one and sided with me on this issue.
It's a Senate savings time.
Yeah.
Before we wrap this up, does anyone who has not had the opportunity to speak have anything they would like to say?
Yeah, I'd love to just two things, Representative Hager. 1332, that's a value-added ag facility. Rock on. And 1235, funding for value-added ag businesses. Rock on. There's some of the opportunities in District 20 and in Grand Forks that are going to count on that. We don't have dead dinosaurs in the ground you can just dig up around here. The opportunities to grow in the ag sector are going to be the key to this being an economic engine in 20 or 30 years. Thanks for helping find some of those seeds. You too, Rich.
Yeah, in regards to Senate Bill 2210, the study on watershed boundaries being determined by watershed boundaries, it's going to be a study. So will there be an interim committee meeting this summer that will be publicized and a person can come and listen or testify?
Yeah, that would be,
Yep.
that would
Interim ag and natural resources,
Yeah.
I would imagine.
either that or water.
Or water topics, yeah, correct.
Yeah. No, it'd be under either ag and natural resources or water topics.
wherever that gets assigned to, and those meeting schedules will be publicized. Leadership in both the House and the Senate have asked us to, on the study language, to have may study
Or shall consider.
or shall consider instead of a shall study. So to give the legislative management the opportunity to make the decisions and pick the topics that will be relevant going into the 70th legislative session.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable because it's a really complicated topic.
It is.
Water is really, we've dealt with it every session I've been there, and somebody made a comment the other day that water runs downhill and towards money. So.
And I think we've all heard that whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I know she said people that haven't spoken before, but and here I go again. First of all, thank you. This was very informative. There's a lot of good new information. I learned a lot. I was kind of trying to stick in the range of topics, but there's a lot of social issue bills pending right now in front of you guys. And I have special concern about the library bills. The Mayville Library in the last year has come a long way. We've got a new library director. We've got access to Libby. We're really making an effort to get the newest of bestsellers and stuff. And I see some pending bills that could really kneecap our library. I really question what the idea is behind those sorts of things. And again, kind of back to what I had said about the school stuff and the weird rumors. I don't know what you guys think is happening at the library. It's not that exciting unless you really like new books. So I would really ask you to very carefully consider those sorts of things and like, is it necessary? And then, you know, the other social pending stuff, you know, is this truly necessary for the protection of the people of North Dakota? Are we actually giving them their own personal freedoms, or are we trying to regulate them? Thank you.
There was one in the back that raised his hand.
I think we're missing, some money that North Dakota could use. I think we need to start taxing the oil a little heavier, or just make it for the road, for the bridges in North Dakota. And we just talked about another legacy fund. I think that'd be a good place for it, and a good place to fund it.
Infrastructure is always a concern and a top of mind issue. We continue to work on issues. It's a rural state. The population we have, it's a challenge, but we continue to make strides where we can, and it's always a concern. So.
I just want to say Senator Lemney sponsored Senate Bill 2362, shifting from Cognia being the only way to accredit a school to opening it up and allowing some other ways. And I just want to let the representatives know that that would be a great bill to support when it comes your way. It just gives schools more freedom, and we actually get better feedback from the way that we have been working with the company. We get much better feedback, yearly feedback from them versus Cognia coming in every 5 or 6 years and giving us feedback when they didn't even step foot in our school last year. We did it all online. They met with the students online. They met with teachers online. They had no idea really what was happening in the building. So I just encourage you to, all three of you, to support that bill when it comes to you.
Go ahead. Paul, what's your idea regarding the funding for the ethics committee?
Well, the funding, I can't remember which side that's on right now. Is that on our side or your side?
I don't know.
I guess I don't know either.
I think
I've seen it.
I think it's just gonna continue to get funded the way it has been. That's.
At the last session, it was about half of what they thought was necessary to run that appropriately.
And I'm trying to remember the discussion from last session on why the reduction in appropriation. that came up from appropriations. I know, the first session we were there was even more drastic. The House Senate backed down to appropriations, and told them not to fund it. So, I know the appropriations committee, whichever side that it's working through, it's probably on our side. They'll come to their decision on where they think the needed funding is, and we'll have to take that into their thoughts into consideration as we make our decisions with the green or red vote.
I think a lot of it has to do with the number of cases being brought. There just isn't a lot of complaints coming forward. So if you don't have the workload, do you need funding for something that isn't there? So we support the Ethics Commission in their goals and missions. It's just, if there isn't the workload, why fund at a level that doesn't support that?
Yeah, and one of the things, I mean, it's been prevalent here this week during session as far as conflict of interest being raised on the House floor. We've been recusing members because of their conflict or their stated conflict. And we've actually, one individual brought a conflict that wasn't a conflict, or the House did not feel it was a conflict, didn't impact that person specifically, so they voted on the issue. So I think I did chair the House Rules Committee, and the House did implement a couple of the rules that the Ethics Commission did propose, and I think we're just working our way through that process.